All right, good evening and thank you for coming along to our first Heliocare scientific briefing, where we'll be discussing the Heliocare product range, Fernblock technology and the science behind its unique benefits in skincare and sun protection. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gina. I'm Marketing Coordinator, Client Focus and one half of the Directorship for Solar Fern. We're proud to be New Zealand's exclusive distributor of Heliocare, where we provide a complete wraparound service to you so that you can feel confident in recommending Heliocare to your patients. Just some housekeeping before we get started. Please be advised that the session is being recorded and your contact details will not be passed on to any third parties. We also ask that you keep your microphones off to save from any disruption. Should you wish to ask any questions, do feel free to open your microphone at any time or pop your question in the Q&A box below. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end should you wish to hold any questions until then. Now, on behalf of Cantabria Labs, I'd like to thank you for your participation in this session tonight, and I am pleased to introduce tonight's speakers. First, we'll have Dr. Salvador Gonzalez. Dr. Gonzalez is a consulting dermatologist and associate professor at the Department of Medicine and Medical Specialties at Alcalá University in Spain. Prior to this, he was a consultant in dermatology services at the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York and a full-time faculty member of the dermatology department at Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School in Boston. Dr. Gonzalez has focused his research interests on systemic photoprotection, skin cancer, and optical diagnoses, and was involved in the development of Fernblock technology together with Dr. Fitzpatrick at Harvard Medical School. He has published more than 200 peer-reviewed papers and over 30 chapters in dermatology, and serves on the editorial boards of various prestigious scientific journals. He is owner of 7 international patents and the founder and president of the International Confocal Group. Today, he'll share with us the main attributes of Fernblock technology and its extensive evidence. Also joining us this evening is James Macfarlane, who is Corporate Marketing Project Manager at Cantabria Labs. He's responsible for the development and implementation of new dermatological products and technologies and works closely with the scientific and medical community to ensure that new developments and needs are quickly integrated into the company's vision in order to provide physicians and skincare specialists with the most innovative, effective, and safe solutions to patient needs. He is a frequent speaker at Congress advisory boards and special introductory industry events in Europe and internationally. And after Dr. Gonzalez's presentation, James will guide us through the Heliocare range. And now I'll hand over to you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Good day to everyone. First, I want to thank Cantabria Lab for the invitation to discuss this topic of my interest. I have prepared the presentation. I'm sorry, Jordi. Yeah, I can pass. There's a next slide. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I will discuss the presentation entitled Harmful Effect of Ultraviolet, Visible and Infrared Light and Administration of the Fernblock to Neutralize them. Hello.
Yes, doctor. Just click on the slide. Just click on the slide and you can go. Yes.
No. I am clicking because probably I don't have the. Yeah, I am not in charge. Somebody, could you do for me? Yeah. Now. Is it starting? Okay. Sorry about that. Before starting, I would like to declare my conflict of interest with pharmaceutical and technological companies. I have been consultant. I am consultant nowadays of Cantabria Lab, who is the lab that own the commercialization of Fernblock. This is the outline that I have prepared for this presentation. First, I will talk about the ultraviolet effect and the beneficial effect of the administration of Fernblock. Ultraviolet light, when impinging our skin, it results about the activation of transcription factor, also the damage of the DNA, capping also the release of inflammatory mediators and inflammation, and also the vascular compartment, and induce Langerhans cell depletion, resulting in photoimmunosuppression, but also induce collagen breakdown as mitochondrial damage. And most of the effects are mediated by oxidative stress. We also studied, it's going very, very slow. Okay, also we have studied the beneficial effect of polypodium leukotomos administration. From now on, I will be talking about Fernblock because it's the one, the polypodium leukotomos extract that I have been using for all my work. We demonstrate that the administration of Fernblock results in a decrease of the inflammatory response, a decrease of the DNA photo damage, also decrease the depletion of Langerhans cells and protecting against photoimmunosuppression, and also result in decrease of the, as I mentioned before, of the DNA damage and mitochondrial damage, and also mediated by in neutralizing the activity of the reactive oxygen species. This is the first human clinical study that we published in 1997, and is the first that was done with the oral administration of Fernblock. This work was done with Madhu Pathak and Fitzpatrick, who everybody knows. Madhu Pathak was one of the investigators that discovered the first sunscreens in the 1960s. In this study, we demonstrate that oral administration of Fernblock significantly increases not only MED but also minimal phototoxic doses at the level of the in the histological in the biopsy. We could monitor the damage at the level of the histological architecture and also the production of sunburn cell. But in this work, we receive criticism because we use such a natural as the light source, the natural sunlight. And natural sunlight is very good to evaluate topical sunscreen, but no oral sunscreen, because natural sunlight suffer fluctuation in hours. That's why we design a new study in which we use a solar simulator that was built at the Wellman Laboratory of Medicine in Mass General Hospital. In this one, we could confirm that the ingestion of polypodium leukotomos decreased the erythema induced by solar emitted light. In this area, in the left side of the back, is the photo test induced by a solar simulator. And in the second one, the subject received oral administration of Fernblock prior the administration of the photo text, and we can see the difference between we can see the protective effect of the Fernblock. Sorry, something is happening. Let's see. Okay. As you know, one of the first effects of UV light in being on the skin is the production of DNA photodamage, the production of DNA photoproduct, and we investigate that Fernblock administration of oral administration of Fernblock induce a decreased number of the PTPT, that is the cyclobutylpyrimidine dimers. We can see in this slide here in the left skin sample is without Fernblock, receiving the exposure to ultraviolet light, and we can see the individual cyclobutyl, the individual damaged nuclei. In the right histological slide, we see a decreased number of the photodamaged nuclei, and the reason why it happened in superficial epidermis, the difference is because the biopsy was taken 48 hours after the light exposure. Also, Dr. Lin group is too slow. Also, Dr. Kerry Lin group performed a nice human study in which confirmed our result using as a light source excimer lasers. And we also demonstrate the decrease of the cyclobutylpyrimidine dimer by the using of Fernblock administration. At that time, one of the most important questions that we received was, okay, does Fernblock reduce the number of cyclobutylpyrimidine dimers? But it is because prevent the production, or is because increase the DNA repair. In answering for this question, we performed a study with Dr. David Kokasian at Boston University using SPC animal model, and we demonstrate that Fernblock doesn't reduce in the early times, in the early moment after the light exposure, doesn't reduce the number of cyclobutylpyrimidine dimers, but 48, 24, 48, and 72 hours decrease the number is because accelerate the repair of our DNA repair system is accelerate the function. But however, concerning to deoxyguanosine, that is the photoproduct induced by oxidative stress, it prevents the production. just in the time 0, you get in the skin we have 8-deoxyguanosine. If you don't receive the topical, the oral Fernblock, and decrease the number of photoproduct if you receive the oral Fernblock. This allow us to conclude that polypodolocotomab administration accelerate the removal of PTPT and prevent the development of 8-deoxyguanosine. This is a long study, and we wanted to publish in a very high impact journal. And the reviewer asked to us about the effect on the mutation by using a double transgenic mouse. Is a XPC mouse with a mutation indicator here gene, and we performed the experiment. We exposed 7 animals to UVB light and without any oral administration of Fernblock, and we performed the same administration. We exposed the animal to UVB, but being administered for several days with Fernblock. Then we observed a trend towards significant, because the number of animals that we used was low at that time, but there was a very beneficial effect of mutation or reduction of the mutation activity or UVB light. But we know that beside the DNA damage, also sunlight induce the Langerhans cell depletion of the skin, that result in photoimmunosuppression. This may happen by different mechanisms. One of them is that UV photons induce isomerization from trans-urocanic acid to cis-urocanic acid. Cis-urocanic acid is very significant, is very important mediator that go to the basal layer of the epidermis and induce the release of tumor necrosis factor, the removal of Langerhans cell. And there are also mechanisms, or other mechanisms like direct cytotoxicity by the release of the DNA photoproduct, and as I mentioned before, the release of tumor necrosis factor alpha. Okay, in summary, is that in conclusion, UV light induced depletion of Langerhans cell. In our studies in 1997, we showed that Fernblock, the administration of Fernblock, reduced the depletion of Langerhans cell. Then later we confirmed with the solar simulator in the study. Here in the histological photograph, we observe this is the light, the skin 2 days after exposed to UVB light. Here is the histological slide showing if the subject have taken Fernblock, there is preservation of the Langerhans cell. They are seen by staining with the anti-CD1A antibodies. And the same happened for PUVA. So in those studies, we demonstrate that we demonstrate that Fernblock preserve the morphology and number of Langerhans cell. But the important question there is, okay, they preserve the morphology, but do they work? To answer this question, we perform the following study with with Richard Cranston, who is the chair of Cornell University in New York. He has an animal model, and we made the animal model to be sensitized to oxazolone, and later by touching the ear with oxazolone, we obtain a inflammation of the ear. If the mice is exposed to UVB light, we induce the allergic contact reaction, and this doesn't happen. But to demonstrate if the Polypodolocotomos, the Langerhans cell, the preservation Langerhans cell also maintain the functional activity, we give to the animal oral administration of Fernblock. Later, we expose to UV light, and later we apply oxazolone, and we may observe the contact reaction, because there is preservation also of the activity of the Langerhans cell. Basic in all the work that I have shown here, we demonstrate also, we did some clinical studies, mainly observational, in photodermatosis, vitiligo patient, in melasma patient, and also in skin cancer patient. But I will focus mostly in the new work on Fernblock. We know that also not only ultraviolet light induced harmful effect, but also we know that visible light and infrared light. It has been, there is a lot of investigation about them as a new target, but these are really old. In 1960, Madhu Pathak, who was my mentor at Harvard Medical School, he already demonstrated that the IPT reaction occurred at the end of the longer UV light, but also visible light. And later, Nick Collier, who was also my mentor at Harvard, he demonstrated that pigmentation induced by visible light lasts for up to 10 weeks. And also in 1982, Lorraine Klickman, her husband, was all the merit is given to him, but also his wife was a very good investigator. She showed for the first time that infrared light induces photoaging. More recently have been shown that blue light coming from light emitted diode, coming from a computer, smartphone, etc., induce mitochondrial fragmentation and alteration of collagen production. Okay. Then we are going to continue with the new work, and it's the work done in visible and infrared light. This is a work in vitro. It's in vitro work in which we evaluate or we deepen in the physiopathology of visible and infrared light, and also in the beneficial effect of Fernblock. We show that visible and infrared light induce metalloproteinase, catexin K, and also decrease the protein like elastin and fibrillins 1 and 2. And the administration of Fernblock induce when we expose the cell, the fibroblast, to visible light, there is increase of the production of MMP1 and also cathepsin K. And the same is with the infrared. There is increase of the MMP1 and the MMP1 and increase of the cathepsin K. When we give the Fernblock, when we administer Fernblock or we treat with Fernblock, that is decrease of MMP1, the marker of photoaging, and also decrease of the cathepsin K, not only in respect to visible light, but also infrared light. Concerning to the protein, to the production of protein, the administration of visible light and infrared light induce there is one increase of the with elastin. What happens is very interesting. When we administer visible light, that is increase of elastin. This is the reason why visible light is used by Asian population for rejuvenation. It happened the opposite with the infrared light. When we administer infrared light, there is a reduction of elastin. And when we administer or we do the treatment with Fernblock, increase the production of elastin and also increase the production of increase the production of elastin, not only with visible light, but also with infrared light. This is very interesting, but also it's very interesting when we work regarding fibrillin 1 and fibrillin 2, two important proteins, and then also research with the same dynamic. The administration of Fernblock contribute to ameliorate visible and infrared changes regarding reducing degradation of extracellular matrix and increasing elastin in fibrillin 1 and 2. Regarding to this work or to this analysis with visible and infrared light, we perform a very nice prospective human study by exposing the gluteal area of volunteer to visible and infrared light. We show that the exposure to visible and infrared light induced in metalloproteinase 1 that can be shown by immunohistochemistry and also Western blot analysis, and the administration of Fernblock by mouth, oral administration of Fernblock, reduce this marker of photoaging induced by visible and infrared light. It was published 1 year ago in dermatology and dermatologic diseases. Another study that is very interesting because it is performed with blue light and light from light emitting diode. We use electronic devices, the light from electronic device to perform this experiment. And this was published 1 month ago, in which we show that artificial light. I will show with some detail. This is the experiment So at the level of the mitochondrial, in which we show the blue light coming from this light-emitting diode induce fragmentation of mitochondria as well as decrease the membrane potential. By treating the cell with polypodologotomo, we reduce the fragmentation and we recover the activity of the mitochondria faster. And also we demonstrate that using melanocyte, we demonstrate that this light, blue light, increases the P38 for phosphorylation and also melanin production after only 15 minutes of exposure. Why this happened? Okay, this happened because Fernblock is able to prevent blue light-induced photooxidation of melanin, and we also studied a new mechanism for inducing the pigmentation that is mediated by the expression of opsin 3, and we show that Fernblock prevent the increase of opsin 3 expression that are induced by blue light in melanocytes. This is a very interesting work. I don't know. It's very interesting work and was published one month ago. Blue light induced pigmentation by, as I mentioned, blue light induced hyperpigmentation by photooxidation of melanin precursor and increase the expression of the opsin 3 photoreceptor that activate melanogenesis, which may be prevented by Fernblock. Okay, and I will mention a work from a work performed by Henry group on visible light induced pigmentation in human subject. It's a prospective study performed in 22 subjects, skin phototype 4 to 6, and in this study, the subject was exposed to visible light, and later the subject was received Fernblock for 28 days and was exposed to do the study again by the same doses of visible light. And the study was, the cell was analyzed not only clinically by using skin biopsies. For example, clinically, they did diffuse reflectance spectroscopy to show that administration of Fernblock reduced the pigmentation induced by visible light. And this is really very important because it's very important for people of high skin phototype having melasma, because these people need to be protected against visible light. In this study, in this image, you can see that there is a really decrease of the 7 days of the pigmentation induced by visible light. That is a really decrease due to the administration of Fernblock. These authors also studied several markers on histological samples, and they found a decrease of the cyclooxygenase, and also there is decrease for the metalloproteinase 1, 2, and 9. I select also this study that is, the previous one was about oral administration of Fernblock in humans. This study is about topical administration of Fernblock added to the topical standard sunscreens. And it's very, very interesting. This work was performed by a group of Sergio Chalca in Brazil, in which he demonstrated that Fernblock, the addition of block, reduce erythema, it reduce the DNA damage, reduce pigmentation, and also reduce metalloproteinase 1 expression. And I will show you the example concerning to the Langerhans cell. This is in the study, the Chalca use a SPF 90 topical sunscreen, and the same by adding Fernblock. And you know, after the irradiation, when the skin is irradiated, there is a reduction of Langerhans cell. That still happens if the patient is treated with the topical standard sunscreen by using the addition of Fernblock. There is a decrease of the depletion. There is increased number of CD1A cell, that is Langerhans cell, that is induced, of course, by the addition of Fernblock. And this is very important because we may think that we are protected when we use the topical sunscreen, and we realize that, okay, we are protected against the erythema, but no against the photoimmunosuppression. Yeah, having as I mentioned, I used and I select this publication for this talk, but in all my research work has been done with the same extract, that is an aqueous extract well controlled from the leaves of Polypodiologotomos. Due to the commercialization of several extra of Polypodiologotomos, a couple of years or 1 year ago, we perform a study in which do a comparison of the extract regarding not only about the chemical signature that is different using SPLC, but also about the protection of DNA photo damage and protection against in favor of antioxidant effect. And I will show you just the example about the protection of the DNA photo damage. Fernblock was the most effective preventing the phosphorylation. Fernblock corresponds to the sample number 2. The study was done blind to the investigator, and we was the most effective preventing the phosphorylation of the histone-2-AX and the formation of cyclopentylpyrimidine dimers, and also repairing the dimers. And this is very interesting because they demonstrate that the other Polypodiologotomos extras that are in the market need to be proved for doing the different effect that they are promoting, because when we use an extra, The extra is a mixture of multitude of ingredients, and not all are the same, and we demonstrate this in this experiment. And yeah, I would like to conclude that I show data that demonstrate that natural and artificial ultraviolet radiation induced cutaneous DNA damage and Langerhans cell depletion, than visible light from artificial natural sources, including blue light from diode laser, increases pigmentation, induce metalloproteinases, and alter the membrane potential of mitochondria. Infrared light decreases cell survival, induce metalloproteinase, and decrease the essential proteins that we need, like elastin and fibrillin 1 and 2. And we also demonstrate that oral and topical photoprotection mediated by Fernblock is a reality against damaging effects of sunlight, including ultraviolet, visible, and infrared radiation, complementing conventional photoprotection. And this has particular relevance in light skin phototype, in patients with photodermatosis, in patients with clinical histories of skin cancer. And while we are treating patients with phototherapy, and patients suffering dyschromia, including melasma, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and vitiligo. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and I am open for questions when at the end of this webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez. I think people will appreciate the amount of science, the amount of studies, the amount of time, the amount of energy and dedication that's gone into the development of Fernblock over the years. Its indications and implementation for skincare and protection from solar radiation, I think is quite obvious. What I'd like to do very briefly is just go through the Heliocare product range so that our physicians can become familiar with the different products that are available, the advantages that the Heliocare products can offer with respect to other sun protection that's available. So, okay, there we go. Okay, as we've seen from Dr. Gonzalez's presentation, Fernblock and Heliocare are able to offer the most effective and complete photoprotection on the market through the presence of Fernblock photoimmunoprotection technology in our Heliocare formulations. As we've seen with Dr. Gonzalez, the Fernblock is able to provide full spectrum protection, UVB, UVA, visible light, and infrared. In the visible light, including the blue light from digital devices, antioxidant activity, DNA protection and repair, immunoprotection, anti-aging, and anti-pigmentation activities. And one of the interesting things about Fernblock is that its efficacy has been demonstrated both topically and orally. So we can combine topical and oral photoprotection to achieve optimal protection. The safety and efficacy of Fernblock has been scientifically demonstrated in over 80 publications, and because of the various formulations that we have available, we're able to offer specific photoprotection protocols according to skin needs. Okay. Within, when we talk about Heliocare, we talk about 360 degrees dermatological photoprotection because of the many activities that Fernblock and Heliocare are able to offer. The Heliocare line is divided into two subfamilies. Heliocare, which is the the traditional sun protection line, very high photoprotection with antioxidant and repair activity, indicated primarily in healthy skin. So for those patients that have no particular sun-related skin issues. Then we have the new generation of Heliocare, Heliocare 360, which offers very high full spectrum UVB, UVA, visible light, and infrared photoprotection with enhanced antioxidant and repair activity. So even greater activity than what we can have with the basic Heliocare products. This Heliocare 360 is obviously indicated for those patients which have more sensitive skin, sun-sensitive skin, that are at greater risk of developing sun-related pathologies, sun-related skin conditions. Also for those patients that are more sophisticated, are looking for something a little bit extra and a little bit better in terms of their sun protection. They're worried about aging, they're worried about spots and hyperpigmentation. And Heliocare 360 is the sun care line that we present to dermatologists for medical prescription. Okay, just very briefly, within the basic Heliocare line, we have products with SPA 50, SPA of 50 plus or 90, depending on the regulatory requirements of the country where we're present. We have formulations with color, and we have oral formulations as well. In the 360 line, we have a number of different formulations suited to particular skin types with high or very high protection. Here, again, because of the additional full spectrum activity, enhanced antioxidant and repair activities, these are especially good for sun-related pathologies, photosensitivity, enhanced anti-aging and anti-spot activity. So here we have different galenic formulations for dry skin types, for oily skin types, for normal, for combination, to best suit the patient's skin type and skin needs. We have colored formulations. We have products that have been specifically developed for pediatric use. We have products which are targeted for specific dermatological indications. So we have a product specifically developed for patients, for sun protection in patients with actinic keratosis, in patients with hyperpigmentation, in patients with sensitive skin, so that we're able to give a targeted sun protection indication to patients. And then we have, of course, our oral formulations. If we look at the topical photoprotection, what can Heliocare offer? Well, as I said, high protection levels, SPF 50, 50 plus, 90, in line with dermatological recommendation needs. If dermatologists are recommending sun protection to patients, it's undoubtedly because they do need to have high protection levels. Within the formulations, on top of the filters that we use, we have additional protection against free radicals, DNA damage, Langerhans cell depletion, and photoaging, primarily due to the presence of Fernblock, but we have also added ingredients such as green tea, DNA repair enzymes to the formulations to enhance and synergize with the activity of Fernblock. And then excellent cosmetic formulations, which are important, of course, if the patient is going to continue to use the product. They must like the product. And but the formulations can also optimize the photoprotection capabilities of the sunscreen itself. Okay. Very interesting data, a study that came out in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology in November of 2012 showed that even if sun protection is applied correctly, uniformly, and frequently, it's not enough to completely protect the skin. And they found that using broad spectrum UV protection only reduces formation of free radicals by 55%. So even when patients are applying the sun protection, applying it well, applying it frequently, not all damage caused by sun exposure is being addressed. The authors said that topical delivery of antioxidants can provide additional benefit to complement the protection from UV filters by providing additional protection to neutralize reactive oxygen species from both endogenous and exogenous sources. Okay, so clearly the contribution of filters can be boosted by extra ingredients. Here they talk specifically about antioxidants. In the study, they mentioned that polyponyl leucotomos extract can have particular benefits in topical formulations for erythema, photoaging, and photocarcinogenesis. This is a study that was done in human epidermal skin model, where we applied 1% Fernblock in an aqueous solution to the skin. 1% is the concentration that we have in our topical sunscreens, and we irradiated with UVB to see the protective ability of the 1% Fernblock. Here you see the skin control, okay? Here the skin has been irradiated with UVB. We see that we have a large increase in the sunburn cells and in the CPD, okay? So extensive damage to DNA has occurred. If you also look at the structure of the epidermis, which has been severely altered. Applying the 1% Fernblock solution, irradiating, we see that we have been able to prevent almost all damage to the DNA, okay? So topical application of Fernblock is preventing damage to the DNA and preserving the epidermal structure of the skin. And then the study that Dr. Gonzalez has already shown you, the Brazilian study, where the additional benefit of Fernblock in addition to filters was demonstrated clearly in terms of providing extra protection against erythema, DNA damage, anti-aging, skin immunological defenses, and skin pigmentation. Okay, so very clearly additional benefit of having Fernblock in topical sunscreens. In addition, as I said, in our formulations we have green tea, vitamins C and E for antioxidant activity, and repair enzymes. Okay, we have endonuclease, glycosylase, and photosylase to cover the 3 different DNA repair mechanisms which are carried out by the skin. The enzymes are extracted from microalgae, organisms which you know have powerful defense mechanisms against radiation and oxidative stress. The enzymes are placed in liposomes for greater penetration and efficacy. And in terms of the galenic formulations, I said the texture, the cosmetic characteristics are very important, but they can also provide better protection. If you think this is the skin surface, we need a sun protection formulation that will distribute evenly over the surface of the skin, covering all surface areas, because if not, we're going to have areas that remain exposed to the radiation. This is standard testing that's done to determine the evenness of the spreading. These are formulations of the competition. You can see that the spreading is not uniform. There are areas where the product has not been able to completely cover the surface. This is Heliocare 360, and you see that we have obtained uniform, perfect spreading of the formulation. Another important component is, of course, the dispersal of the filters within the formulation. Even dispersal, these are non-Heliocare products. You see we have accumulations of the filter, meaning that within the formulation, the filter is not evenly distributed. And these are our Heliocare formulations, where you can see we have achieved excellent dispersion of the filters. So those are our topical formulations, the benefits of Fernblock in topical formulations, the added value. Let's look very briefly at the oral photoprotection. It's a new concept. As Dr. Gonzalez showed, we have a lot of science to back up the importance and the benefit that oral photoprotection can also provide patients, particularly those patients that have sun-related pathologies. Why is oral protection important? Okay, because you know that the SPF is measured based on an application of 2 milligrams per square centimeter. But what happens in reality, of course, is that people don't apply nearly that quantity. Okay? The average quantity applied is 0.5 milligrams per square centimeter. So people are only applying 25% of the quantity that gives the declared SPF. Okay, and what happens is that the SPF protection drastically diminishes with reduced quantities. If we take a product with SPF 50, you apply it 2 milligrams per square centimeter, great, we have a protection of 50. If you apply 1.5, the SPF has already dropped to 19. And if you apply what people usually apply, 0.5, the sun protection has fallen to only 3. Okay, so people are applying SPF 50, but in reality, they've only got an SPF of 3. And here you can see the difference that the application of the different quantities can make. And so obviously the reduced protection we're getting because of reduced application. Obviously, as you know, not areas are sufficiently covered by photoprotection. People forget a lot of areas, often eyes, eye contour areas, ears, that photoprotection can wear off during the day. Okay, this is a patient applied photoprotection first thing after 6 hours with no sweating, no swimming, just a normal daily activity. We see that almost all of the protection has faded. The application is often late, as you know, not sufficiently frequent. The UVA and visible light is relatively constant throughout the day, all day long. People tend to think of applying topical sunscreen only when the sun is very bright. And as we saw earlier with the American study, part of the radiation is always going to penetrate the skin. Okay, topical photoprotection is only reducing the formation of free radicals by 55%, and so that's why systemic photoprotection can make good sense. Okay, you saw the studies demonstrated its efficacy. How is it used? Well, we have medical and therapeutic indications for oral photoprotection, lighter skin types, patients with photodermatosis and sun allergies, patients that are undergoing pharmacological treatments that are causing photosensitization or immunosuppression, patients with pigmentary disorders, post-procedure when skin is has lost a lot of its endogenous stratum corneum, maybe part of the epidermis, and is particularly vulnerable. Patients with actinic keratosis, obviously a history of skin cancer, and patients undergoing phototherapy. Okay, so very useful therapeutic indications. And then, of course, for sun protection, for healthy sun exposure, in healthy skin, for darker skin types, to avoid some of the aging effects of sun exposure. Okay, so depending on the patient needs, their lifestyle, we have different indications and formulations available. Different formulations available, having different concentrations of Fernblock, additional ingredients depending on the indication. We have Heliocare Oral for healthy sun exposure, healthy skin, darker phototypes, limited sun exposure condition. Heliocare Ultra D, higher concentration of Fernblock for lighter phototypes, more intense sun exposure for pathologies such as actinic keratosis, photodermatosis, patients undergoing phototherapy, so more therapeutic indications. Heliocare 360, which has advanced anti-aging and pigment control. It would be the product that we would recommend post-procedure. And then Heliocare Pure Radiance, for skin lightening and brightening and uniform tone. Okay, so different formulations available according to the different skin needs. And that's it, a brief overview of the Heliocare line, topical and oral. And of course with Soloferm, you'll be able to get more details regarding the different products and their indications. So I think at this point, we can wrap up and see if there are any questions.
No, it looks like we have, we are all done. So thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez and James and the wider Cantabria Labs family for your time and your knowledge this evening. I know New Zealanders are going to really appreciate your time tonight, and of course the recording of this video in the future. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right, and on your screen here, attendees, thank you for your time. You'll see a QR code here. If you scan that with your smartphone, it will take you to a quick questionnaire about the event tonight, and it'll be very helpful. Yeah, so we'll close off the session here, guys. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.